Welcome to Divine Therapy Inc. As we settle into the 16th sanctuary of our shared journey, I invite you to create a space of absolute, radical gentleness for yourself. Adjust your posture so that you feel both supported and free. If your hands are clenched, let them soften. If your breath is shallow, let it deepen, imagining each inhalation as a wave of silver mist moving through the corridors of your heart. Today, we are speaking to the part of you that has known the winter of the soul. We are talking about grief, about the devastating silence that follows a great loss, and the terrifying moment when the map of your life is torn away, leaving you adrift on a sea with no stars to guide you. This is a story for those who are mourning, not just a person, but perhaps a dream, a health, a version of themselves, or a future they thought was guaranteed. This is the story of a man named Alara's son, Kaelo, and the voyage across the Starless Sea. In a coastal kingdom where the tide was said to whisper the secrets of the ancestors, Kaelo was a man of the sun. He was a master shipbuilder, a creature of laughter, light, and certainty. He lived his life in the shallows, a place where the water was clear, the sand was warm, and every horizon was bright and promised a safe return. He had a wife whose laughter sounded like wind chimes in a life that felt like a continuous summer afternoon. He believed, as many of us do when things are going well, that he was the architect of his own sunshine. He believed that if he worked hard enough and loved well enough, the darkness could never touch him. He navigated by the stars of success, certainty, and tomorrow. But life, in its infinite and sometimes cruel mystery, has a way of turning the tide without warning. In a single, devastating year, the sky over Kaelo's world went black. First came a great sickness that took his beloved wife, turning his home from a place of music into a tomb of silence. Then came a storm that shattered his shipyards, the very foundation of his identity, scattering his hard-earned legacy into the churning surf. Kaelo found himself standing on the shore of a life he no longer recognized. The stars he had used to navigate, his plans, his joy, his sense of self, had vanished. He was plunged into the starless sea of grief, a place where the water is as black as ink and the air is heavy with the scent of salt and sorrow. The psychological weight of this loss was not a sharp pain, but a crushing, oceanic heaviness. Kaelo felt as though he was submerged under 1,000 atmospheres of pressure. His chest felt tight, as if a great iron band were being slowly cinched around his ribs. He moved through his days like a diver in a lead suit. The sunlight felt offensive to him, the laughter of others sounded like broken glass. He was caught in the tide of regret, a current that pulled him backward into the past, forcing him to replay every moment he could have been kinder, every second he had taken for granted. He felt that if he let go of his pain, he would be letting go of the people he had lost. He began to believe that the darkness was his new home, and that hope was a lie told by those who hadn't yet drowned. He spent months sitting on a small, battered skiff, drifting aimlessly in the fog. He didn't pick up the oars because he didn't know where to go. He didn't look at the horizon because he didn't believe there was one. He was waiting for the stars to return, waiting for the old Kaelo to wake up and fix the world. But the stars remained hidden. He felt a profound sense of abandonment by the universe. He felt that he was a ghost haunting his own life, a navigator with no compass, sailing a sea that had no shore. This is the heart of grief, the feeling that the world has moved on while you are stuck in a frozen moment of no. One night, when the fog was so thick he could no longer see the front of his own boat, Kaelo heard a rhythmic splashing. Out of the mist emerged a small, ancient rowboat. In it sat an old woman whose skin was the color of driftwood and whose hair flowed behind her like sea foam. She carried no lantern, and she had no stars to guide her. She moved with a strange, effortless grace through the pitch-black water. Kaelo called out to her, his voice cracked and dry. "Mother, how do you find your way? There are no stars. There is no moon. We are lost in the starless sea." The old woman stopped rowing and looked at him with eyes that seemed to contain the depth of the ocean. "I am not lost, child," she said softly. "I am just navigating differently. You are waiting for the light from above to tell you where to go. But when the stars go out, you must learn to navigate by the light from below." She reached over the side of her boat and dipped her hand into the black water. As she moved her fingers, the water began to glow with a soft, ethereal bioluminescence. Tiny sparks of blue and green light swirled in the wake of her hand. "The starless sea is not empty," she whispered. "It is full of the light of everything that has ever lived. The grief you feel is not a wall, it is a deep, dark water. If you fight it, you will sink. If you try to sail over it without touching it, you will stay lost in the fog. But if you dip your oars deep into the sorrow, you will find the light that lives at the bottom of the pain." Kalen was terrified. He didn't want to touch the water. He didn't want to feel the full depth of his loss. He wanted to stay in the fog where everything was numb. But the old woman's words acted like a key in a rusted lock. She told him that hope is not a bright star in the sky. Hope is the glow that appears when you finally stop resisting the dark. She told him that his wife and his dreams were not gone, they had simply changed form, becoming the very salt and light of the sea he was now sailing. With trembling hands, Kaelo picked up his oars. He lowered them into the freezing, black water of his own grief. At first, the weight was almost too much to bear. The water felt thick, like pulling through heavy syrup. He felt the sting of 1,000 memories. He felt the cold ache of his loneliness. He began to weep, his tears falling into the sea. But as he pulled the oars through the water, a miracle happened. The sea began to ignite. With every stroke, a brilliant, neon blue light erupted from the depths. The water around his boat became a shimmering galaxy of bioluminescence. He wasn't navigating by the distant stars of the future anymore, he was navigating by the immediate light of his own movement through the pain. He realized that the light didn't come from the sky, it came from the collision of his strength with his sorrow. The harder he rowed, the brighter the path became. He began to see the shapes of the waves, the texture of the fog, and the path that lay directly in front of him. He spent a long time on that sea. He didn't find his way back to the shallows of his old life, because that land was gone. Instead, he found a new continent, a land of deep wisdom. This was a place where the light was softer, the colors were more profound, and the people moved with a quiet, unbreakable strength. Kaelo realized that he was no longer the man of the sun. He was a navigator of the deep. He had learned that the darkness is not the end of the journey, it is a different kind of terrain. He had learned that you do not get over grief, you learn to sail it until the water itself becomes your guide. He eventually built a new lighthouse on the shore of this new land. But it didn't shine its light up at the clouds. It shone its light down into the water, to show other lost sailors that the glowing path was right beneath their oars. He became a companion to the broken-hearted, not by telling them the sun would come out tomorrow, but by sitting in the boat with them and showing them how to row through the ink until it glowed. Kalo's life was no longer a continuous summer afternoon. It was a rich, complex tapestry of twilight and dawn. He still missed his wife, and he still felt the sting of his losses, but he carried them now as the very fuel for his light. He understood that the starless sea is where the soul learns its true depth. He understood that when the world goes dark, it is only so you can finally see the light that you carry within you. If you are watching this today, and you feel like you are adrift on a starless sea, if you are mourning a loss that feels too heavy to carry, or if your world has gone black and the stars have vanished, please know that we see you. We know the oceanic heaviness in your chest. We know the cold, salt sting of your tears. We know the terror of the fog and the feeling that you will never see the shore again. But at Divine Therapy Inc., we want to remind you of the old woman's wisdom. You are not lost. You are just navigating in the dark. The light has not abandoned you, it has simply moved. It is no longer in the sky of your plans, or the tomorrow you expected. It is in the water. It is in the very heart of the pain you are trying so hard to avoid. What would happen if you stopped waiting for the stars? What if you picked up the oars of your own presence and dipped them deep into the sorrow? What if you allowed yourself to feel the full weight of the water, trusting that the movement itself will create the light? Imagine yourself now, sitting in that small, battered boat. The fog is all around you. It's quiet. It's dark. Don't look for a lighthouse. Don't look for a sign. Just reach out your hand and touch the water of your life exactly as it is right now. Feel the cold. Feel the depth. And then, move. Take one small, intentional step through your grief. Notice the spark. Notice the glow. You are not drowning. You are navigating. The light you see in the water is the light of your own courage. It is the light of the love you still carry. It is the proof that even in the deepest dark, you are a creature of radiance. The shore is coming, but for now, the magic is in the rowing. Take a deep, soul-sustaining breath. Feel the strength in your arms and the resilience in your heart. You are a navigator of the starless sea, and the path you are creating with your own sorrow is the most beautiful thing in the world. Thank you for trusting us with your journey through these 16 stories. May you find the light in the depths, may your oars be steady, and may you always know that the sea is holding you, even in the dark.